The moment Daemon realized he betrayed his own destiny. Daemon Targaryen spent his entire life chasing power, glory, and the Iron Throne like a dragon chasing sheep, only to realize in one devastating moment that he had been fighting for the wrong crown all along. We're talking about a man who killed for his family, married for strategy, and burned his enemies to ash, yet somehow managed to sabotage the one thing that actually mattered: his own legacy. And the exact second he figured this out, that moment will haunt you harder than the Red Wedding haunts your nightmares. If you want the deepest dives into House of the Dragon, the hidden meanings behind every Targaryen decision, and the kind of analysis that makes you say, "How did I miss that?" then smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell, because we are about to unpack character arcs so twisted they make Littlefinger's schemes look straightforward. Let us set the stage here. Daemon Targaryen, the rogue prince, the man who makes Jaime Lannister look like a choir boy, has been defined by one singular obsession his entire existence: recognition. Not just any recognition, though. He wants to be seen as the rightful heir, the true Targaryen, the dragon that should have worn the crown. Every single decision he makes, every alliance he forms, every person he betrays or protects, it all comes back to this burning need to prove he is worthy of power. He is like that kid in school who acts out because negative attention is still attention, except this kid has a dragon and zero impulse control. Now here is where it gets interesting. Daemon's whole identity is built on being the spare, the second son, the one who should have been king if only his older brother Viserys was not standing in his way. He spent years making Viserys' life difficult, stealing the City Watch's loyalty, causing scandals that would make even the Lannisters blush, all because he thought he deserved better. But the tragedy, and this is the gut punch, folks, is that Daemon was so busy trying to become king that he completely missed his actual destiny. He was never meant to sit the Iron Throne. He was meant to be the sword that protects it. The moment of realization hits during the Dance of the Dragons, and if you have been paying attention to House of the Dragon, you know the Civil War is basically the Targaryen family destroying itself with more efficiency than any enemy ever could. Daemon has spent this entire conflict making strategic moves, playing the game, doing what he does best, which is being absolutely ruthless in pursuit of victory. He supports Rhaenyra's claim, sure, but let us be honest, there has always been this underlying current of self-interest. He married her partially for love, partially because it puts him closer to power than he has ever been. Classic Daemon move. But then comes the moment. Picture this. Daemon is at Harrenhal, that cursed castle where literally nothing good ever happens to anyone, and he starts having these visions. Now you might think, okay, creepy castle visions, standard fantasy stuff, right?
Wrong.
These are not just random nightmares. These visions are showing Daemon his entire life from a perspective he has never considered before. He sees himself not as the hero of his own story, but as the obstacle. He sees every moment he chose his own ambition over his family's unity. He sees the consequences of his actions rippling forward like dominoes made of dragon fire and regret. The specific vision that breaks him is when he sees the future of House Targaryen. Not the immediate future, but centuries down the line. He sees the fall of his house, the extinction of the dragons, and here is the kicker, he sees how the seeds of that destruction were planted during the Dance of the Dragons. The very war he is currently fighting. The war that exists partly because of his own ambitions and manipulations over the years. Imagine realizing that everything you fought for, everything you sacrificed, actually contributed to destroying the thing you loved most. That is like spending your whole life building a castle only to realize you have been mixing the mortar with gunpowder. This realization reshapes everything we understand about Daemon's character in the later parts of the dance. Suddenly his actions take on a different tone. When he prepares for his final confrontation with Aemon Targaryen above the God's Eye, he is not doing it for glory or recognition anymore. He is doing it because he finally understands his role in this story. He is the necessary sacrifice. He is the piece that needs to be removed from the board so that maybe, just maybe, the carnage can end sooner rather than later. Think about how profound this shift is for a character who has spent decades demanding to be seen, demanding to be acknowledged, demanding to matter. In his final act, Daemon chooses to disappear. He takes Aemond and Vhagar down with him, and they all vanish into the god's eye, never to be seen again. No body, no funeral, no grand monument to his legacy. For a man who craved recognition above almost everything else, this is the ultimate act of selflessness. Or is it? Because here is the twisted brilliance of Daemon's arc. Even in his moment of sacrifice, even when he is finally putting the greater good above his own ambition, there is still that element of going out on his own terms in the most dramatic way possible. The tragedy deepens when you consider what Daemon could have been if he had figured this out sooner. If he had accepted his role as protector rather than perpetual challenger, if he had used his considerable talents and dragon riding skills to strengthen his family instead of constantly testing its boundaries, the dance of the dragons might never have happened. Or, at the very least, it would have been less catastrophic. Rhaenyra would have had an ally who was fully committed to her cause rather than one who was always half looking for his own angle. The realm would have been spared at least some of the destruction that tears it apart. But that is the thing about destiny and self-awareness. Sometimes you only understand your purpose when it is too late to fully embrace it. Daemon's entire arc is about a man fighting against what he is meant to be, only to accept it in the final moments when acceptance means annihilation. It is like watching someone solve a puzzle just as the table is being flipped over. You got the answer right, congratulations, but the game is already over. What makes this even more compelling is how it mirrors other characters in the broader Game of Thrones universe. Think about Jaime Lannister spending his whole life trying to escape the label of Kingslayer, only to find redemption in the very act that damned him in the first place. Think about Theon Greyjoy trying to prove he belongs to a family, any family, only to discover. The moment Daemon realized he betrayed his own destiny was not just about understanding what he had done wrong. It was about understanding that he could not undo it, could not rewrite it, could only choose how the story ends. And in choosing to end it with purpose rather than continuing to flail against fate, he finally became the Targaryen he was always meant to be. Not the king, not the heir, but the dragon who burned bright enough to light the way for others, even if that light consumed him completely in the process. Thanks for watching, and remember, in the Game of Thrones, sometimes the crown you chase is the one that destroys you, while the legacy you ignore is the one that could have saved you.